Comfort. We live in a land here in the West of extreme comfort, pleasures, and look what it's done to us. The average American woman weighs 170.8 pounds. The average American man is not far behind. Actually, he exceeds her in weight, but his health and his physical condition is lacking, to say the least. One thing I noticed when I came back from living in Central America back in 2009, which was how many years? 14 years ago, almost. I came back in August, was the men had gotten overweight. I guess I better not say the F word. That's another thing, but that's a whole nother video. So what has happened? Of course, as human beings, we seek the easier, softer way. And there's nothing wrong with that. We, of course, want to make things better. It's a form of, progress, striving, having goals, achieving them. Without goals, we would wither away and die as men. But to a certain degree, that's what is happening to the men in the West. They get up, they go to work, they get up in their air-conditioning homes, they go to their air-conditioned cars, they go to their air-conditioned office, then they come home and do the same thing. And as they grow up, children, the schools are so air-conditioned, and I love air conditioning, don't get me wrong, it's nice when it's cool, that they have to wear coats in school in the middle of summertime. And during the winter, sometimes they actually call off school because it's too cold. These things are not good or bad, right or wrong in essence. They're all good intentioned actions and rules or regulations that we make up as far as schools go. But they soften up everyone. Everyone gets so used to everything being so comfortable that God forbid if they have to do something that's a little discomforting, because they're so used to being catered and babied and coddled that they almost seem offended when someone asks them to do something that seems servile or hard. I'll give you a good example. I've hired many house cleaners here, but of course I have 6 kids, and so after a while they start complaining about, well, the kids need to pick up after themselves. Of course, that's their perception and their perspective. And I don't disagree with them. Here's the deal, though. If my kids all picked up after themselves and cleaned up after themselves, guess what? I wouldn't need I was going to use the word servant, but don't want to offend anybody. Yeah, but they are a servant. I'm a servant. I wouldn't need a house cleaner or a maid, correct? So because of what the kids leave laying around, and heck, I don't pick up after myself completely either. I really don't have time to sweep my room, to clean my room, to scrub the bathtub out, to scrub out the sink. So I want to hire somebody to have that done, and I have at times. But as I said, because of their consciousness, they don't last long because it becomes uncomfortable. Now, the reason I brought up the topic of a house cleaner is I asked them to get on their hands and knees to clean the floor. And you would think I was asking them to be my slave or something. Do you know how I clean the floor? I have a mop, but many times I'll get on my hands and knees with a bucket and a rag and wipe it down. I was on my knees yesterday, my hands and knees yesterday, picking up little specks of paint off the floor where the drop cloth had slid back and it splattered. You couldn't hardly see them, but we always get down on our hands and knees after we finish a job and we check the floor to see if there's any specks of paint that may have gotten on there. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal for me, but when I ask younger people to do that, they're like, we'll get a, what's it called, a Swiffer. We'll get a mop. And if I ask them to wring the mop out with their hands, they don't get that either. So I grew up in a time where we did these things and these were normal and natural. The point I'm making here is this. It's not offensive when someone asks you to do something that's hard work or a little bit, how do I say, something you normally wouldn't do or something that's going to make you uncomfortable. You need discomfort in your life. An example right now, what I'm doing is I live on the second floor of my house and it's getting up to 100, it's about 100 degrees the other day, 99, 100, it's supposed to get up to 104 and it may. So this summer I decided to not put an air conditioner in my room. Now the lower level has air conditioning where the kids are. They start complaining when it's 70 degrees outside in the spring because they've grown up with these comforts. Now, I was talking to someone the other day and they're like, well, I got a window unit I can give you. I have central air up here upstairs too. I just don't turn it on. The boys, they got an air conditioned window unit. And I couldn't get, he didn't understand. I said, well, I want to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because what that does, it makes my life easier in the long run. It's a concept many people don't understand. But if you get so used to being comfortable and catered and coddled, then guess what? There's going to be times in your life where you're not. And if you can't be happy unless you're treated a certain way, you're not going to have much happiness or fulfillment or contentment in life. And I'm not talking about the type of contentment where you don't want anything else. I'm talking about, like for myself, when I look around here, I'm content with what I have. I'm grateful for what I have. I'm appreciative for what I have. Instead of sitting here, God, it's so hot. Man, I wish I had air conditioning. Oh man, I'm sweat all night last night sleeping, which I did. I have a fan. You know, the Amish, they don't even use a fan. And when I was a kid, we didn't have air conditioning. My grandmother and I, we would go, and my brother, we would go sleep outside under the stars when it got hot. But all these things, these uncomfortable things, make a man. They build the inner man. They build character. They build integrity. There is no other way to build character and inner strength unless you go through the fire of discomfort, through the fire of discredit, through the fire of discouragement, through the fire of disillusionment. All these things bring an internal discomfort. And when I'm talking about not using the AC this year, and I'm talking about doing things that are uncomfortable purposely, is because, as I said, we live in the West in such a comfortable society that someone's always willing to help you out. The guy I was talking to the other day offered me an air conditioning window unit. And I said, no, it's okay. I want to see if I can make it, and I know I can, through the summer without one. He says, well, if you want to beat your head against the wall. And to him, that's what he feels like I'm doing. And I understand that. But he doesn't understand or grasp the concept of what I'm talking about of building the inner man. Although he does it because his work, some of the things he does I know are grueling and difficult. And that's the way he builds the inner man. But he doesn't purposely or consciously do it. But that's what I'm doing because of what I've learned. And that's why I'm sharing that with you. Seek out discomfort. Become comfortable doing the uncomfortable, and it will enrich your life. I know that doesn't make much sense, and it sounds counterintuitive or contradictory, but it does work. For example, with boxing, you know, and I knew, and my kids know, when you get in the ring, there's a chance that you may not get out of that ring. And more than likely, a really good chance, or almost always, you're going to get out of that ring hurt. So you're putting your life on the line to a certain degree. And with that, when you're finished, whether you win or lose, comes the feeling of life and enhancement that you get in no other way. And in the same respect, when you put yourself in discomforting, uncomfortable situations, and you walk through them and you experience them. You have sometimes an exhilaration, but it's a feeling of fulfillment that you get from nothing else. I'll give you another example. We painted a house yesterday, and this lady picked out a color which was somewhat transparent. I bid 2 coats on the walls, and we put 3 coats on it, and it still could see through it. And she came home and was looking, and as the light changes outside, as the sun moves, you can see things differently. So in the bedroom, she noticed you could still see through it even with 3 coats. I didn't charge her for the 3rd coat, and we just wanted to get out of there. It was Friday, and we're tired of doing it over and over and over again. But she wants us to put another coat on there. And yeah, you could see through it barely, but you really had to look for it. But that's what you wanted, and I didn't want to charge her for it. She says, I'll pay you for it. And I didn't want to charge her. I didn't end up charging her for the paint. So we went ahead and did it, but it was very uncomfortable for us because it was like 3:30 or 4 o'clock. The boys wanted to get to the boxing. I had to send a message to their coach and told her that I was keeping them late. Okay, we were all very uncomfortable. And this was nobody's fault. There was no one to blame. The client was in the right, wanting another coat, and she said she would pay for it. We could have came back the next day and done it, but we wanted to finish up and get out of there. So I went ahead and dealt with her, talked to her, and then I said, well, we'll get a couple more gallons of paint and we'll finish this up. And I told Henry, I'm going to let you stay here and finish this up so he can grow. And it's a stressful situation. But he did it, and he told me when he got home, she kept finding a few more spots, and he was able to be a good servant and satisfy her and do what she wanted him to do. But he was just like, I wanted to get out of there. I was afraid she was going to find more places. Because sometimes when you look at paint, and I'm not saying she was doing this, but I've done this, you see things that aren't even there. It's really strange, but the colors, the paint, the lighting in the house, the shadows. But it was a great growing experience for him, but it was a very uncomfortable situation. And his client was great. She wasn't complaining, and she offered to pay extra. She just wanted it where she couldn't see anything, and she was like looking at the walls, really examining them real close. I mean, like within 2 feet, walking all around. And of course, sometimes what I tell clients is it's not a car. But in this case, there were some light spots. Although we had fulfilled our part of the contract, more than fulfilled it, she wanted it done so where she couldn't see it, even if she studied it or looked at it very closely. And I believe you need to give the client what they desire. I'm here to serve her, and we did, and we served her well. She was happy. And that helped my son to grow through that discomfort for an hour or 2 that he had to go through. He wanted to go to the gym. He didn't want to be there. He wanted her to just say, oh, this is great. Thank you. It looks good. But that wasn't what happened. But these situations will help him grow in character and integrity. And that's why you need to become comfortable when you're uncomfortable and seek out uncomfortable situations that you can walk through, overcome, learn from, and strengthen your inner man. Okay, hit that like button, subscribe. If you think this will be of value to someone, share it with them. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time. Take care.